Imagine this, you spent a lot of time preparing your home to get it ready to go on the market, you staged it, you have it looking glamorous, but then the buyer decides to cancel. Why did they decide to cancel, and is there something you could have done to know more about what causes a buyer to walk away? Well, let's explore the top 11 reasons why buyers walk away from a sale so you don't have a buyer saying goodbye. My name is Andrew Finney, and my passion is helping you make sense of real estate. If you need help finding a top agent where you live, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you're new here, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. Thank you. All right, my friend, let's take a closer look at this. And what I'm sharing with you is based upon observation and representing families here in Las Vegas, Nevada, about the reason why I have seen buyers walk away from a sale. I've been able to narrow it down through observation, experience, conversations with other agents, both here in Las Vegas and around the country. I want to share this information with you so you don't have your deal blowing up for you and now your home, which was once a blessing, is now a nightmare situation. Let's keep that from happening to you with understanding the real reasons why buyers walk away. Let's count them down with reason number 11, being blinded by love with rose-colored goggles. What does this mean exactly? I'm sure you could think back on a time in your life where you fell in love, or you thought that you fell in love with the wrong person, only to find out later on that you weren't as in love as you originally thought. You started seeing the blemishes of that other person, the character flaws, the things that stuck out in your mind, that you began to think, you know what, this is just not going to be a good fit here. It's the same thing that can happen with the purchase of a home. A buyer can be blinded by your amazing marketing. They can be blinded by any videos that you put out. They can be shocked and awed by the staging, the smell of the house, and the presentation, only to find out that whenever they start uncovering the blemishes through the home inspection and the buyer due diligence process, they start wondering, you know what, is this the best fit for me? And is this something I should be moving forward with? Because now that the home inspections come back, we have some problems, and it's going to cost more money than I thought than just getting into the home. So the number 11 reason is being blinded by their own fantasy, being blinded by their own love for the property and later reconsidering. Reason number 10 is a pest infestation. Now you might be thinking, Andrew, I don't really have a lot of bugs, and let's face it, our houses reside in this place called nature, and nature has a wealth of abundance of life, of all kinds of critters, from ones that we like to critters that we don't like. Well, if they're in your home and you have an issue with termites eating the wood in your home, it is sure to gut check any buyer, as it should probably also gut check you as a seller to make sure it gets addressed. If left unaddressed, it can cause a structural issue with your home over time. Let's make sure that pests aren't the deterrent in your home by making sure that you have appropriate home maintenance taking place. Go ahead and have these pest inspections done up front prior to listing to uncover any issues that might arise. Another thing, if you're in a desert state, you can have scorpions, you can have black widows, you can have desert tarantulas. All of these things make people feel a little bit icky and makes them feel a little bit nervous about buying the house because they're wondering, and it's only natural if you really think about it, the buyers are wondering, are they in the walls? If they're in the walls, could they get my young infant baby? If it's in the walls, what else is in the walls that are going on with that house? What is wrong? This property is completely infested, even if they might have only seen one spider. So it's important to take note of how people respond when they're getting ready to put up hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on a property. Let's do everything that we can together to prepare you for success by having that pest inspection done and addressing the issue head on and making any appropriate disclosures in your state or local area that are pursuant to the real estate guidelines to ensure that we're giving honest and truthful information to the buyer so they know what the problem was, they know how it was addressed, and now they know the end result, that everything is okay. Being clear on this up front, you'll find there is a buyer for even the Scorpion King house. If you have scorpions going over the fences and into your yard, if you disclose it, there's still going to be a buyer. Reason number 9 is non-disclosure by you, the seller. Now, what are we talking about when we're talking about non-disclosure? It is often human nature. You want to present your home in the best light as possible, and you want to get as many buyers in your home to get that offer that you're willing to accept. So what some uncanny and unscrupulous and dishonest sellers will do is they will use any of their furnishings, their shelves, their rugs, or anything else that they have at their disposal to hide a defect on the property. This is not good. You want to be upfront, you want to be honest, and you want to make full disclosure. Think about the times that you walked into a home and you could see moisture staining bleeding through what looks to be fresh paint. That's a telltale sign that someone's not being truthful with you if that was not addressed and was not disclosed up front. This will cause a buyer to run to the hills, because if it's something like that, they're thinking, what else is the seller not disclosing? Is it something more substantial with the property? Is there mold in this property now? Is there a structural issue with this property? Is there a foundation issue? It begs the question, and when trust is lost, it's gone, and it's very hard to get back. Don't let this happen to you. Just disclose up front, honestly, to the best of your knowledge, anything that you know about your property pursuant to the seller's real property disclosure guidelines in the state and local area that you live in. Keeping the trust up front will keep the faith moving forward through the closing process and see you on to your next destination. Reason number 8 are sewer problems. When we're talking about sewer problems, some of our homes across the country might have a septic tank. They might be connected to municipal sewer. All the same, having a sewer problem and having it back up into your home is not cool. The last thing that we want is a wastewater disposal plant for a house. So make sure that if you have any sewer issues whatsoever, whether you have a septic tank or whether you connected to municipal sewage, make sure that you have everything ready to go. Consider the fact that even municipal sewers have a line that run from the main in the street to the house. With that main, sometimes that thing has to be replaced. If it was replaced on your watch, make sure that you made that appropriate disclosure and you made it known to the buyer that they won't have any issues because you just did it X number of years ago. If you have a septic tank, the best thing that you can do is to go ahead and expose the septic tank lid and have it pumped, and make sure that you have all of those receipts ready to go to provide to the incoming buyer. Doing so lets them know the only waste in that place is going to be their own. Reason number 7 is the DIY enthusiast. Now, we all know someone like this that watched HGTV, they got inspired, they went out to Lowe's, they went out to Home Depot, or wherever they went to get their product, and they're like, you know what, that was gorgeous. I'm gonna put wainscoting on my wall, I'm gonna change out all the ceiling fans in my house, and I'm gonna take on a bathroom remodel, a kitchen remodel, and they didn't have a plan. Without having a plan and without having the requisite skill sets, this can present a massive problem. I like to call these people the DIY enthusiasts. When you walk into the home, you can clearly see that you have some shoddy workmanship going on. You can also see half-finished projects everywhere. What this results in at the end of the day is a lot less for your home that you could have had you done the project to begin with correctly. So please, plan out your renovations if you're going to do them and make sure they're done correctly. It will come up in a home inspection if there's a problem. Reason number 6 is the wishy-washy buyer. Now, I would love to be able to tell you that every buyer that writes an offer on a home intends to consummate the sale of that home and see it all the way through the closing process because they're truly in love with your home and they intend to move forward in good faith. Hence why they put up an earnest money deposit as a deposit of good faith for you taking your home off the market. Now, why do buyers get wishy-washy? Why do they get flaky? Well, there's a lot of different reasons, and one of those reasons is they're still looking at homes. They're still in home shopping mode as opposed to home closing mode. And they might think, you know what? That grass is greener on the other side over there, and this other house has even brighter grass. Oh my God, the house that I'm in contract for doesn't have as green a grass. Well, here's the thing, and here's the reality, right? Grass gets greener because we do what? We fertilize the grass, and we all know that fertilizer is made of exactly, right? So we want to make sure that we can tie down that buyer in as much as possible, but we have to be very real that we're dealing with people, and people can and will change their mind at times. Now, this is often symptomatic of a trusted real estate advisor that may not have sat down with their client to form a strong winning game plan up front. So this is something that I look to real estate practitioners across the country, and if you're one watching this video right now, please be sure to have in-office meetings with your clients, because we have to be real with our clients and educate them as to the home buying process, the home selling process, to make sure that everybody's able to find what they want and move along without having the issue of wishy-washy in a closing process. That is not the time that you want to be house shopping. That's the time that you want to be closing. And we need a committed buyer, not a buyer that got non-committal because they got scared of a mortgage, not a buyer that said, hey, you know what? Oh my God, I'm actually going to have to put up an earnest money deposit. I'm going to have to make a deposit. Oh my God, I might be in this place for 7 to 10 years, and it terrifies them for some odd reason. Whether it's a rental or whether it's a home, they're going to be somewhere for the next 7 to 10 years, and ideally with a roof over the home. You, the seller, need to know that buyers will walk away on occasion based upon just being sheer wishy-washy. So make sure that you glean the understanding in as much as possible from your trusted real estate advisor performing as your listing agent, and ask them to monitor the process by talking to the buyer's agent and make sure that those buyers are fully committed and ready to go. As a final pro tip on this point, if you're a buyer, please make sure that you're only writing an offer on a house that you intend to move forward with. Now, of course, you're going to have your home inspection, you're going to have your home appraisal, and of course, there may be other things that are germane to the process and important to you that if it doesn't check out, it doesn't check out. That's okay. But make sure that you have the commitment up front and then you're not backing out just because you changed your mind. Reason number 5 are electrical and plumbing issues. If your house has old electrical or plumbing, this can manifest itself in the worst ways possible. Consider the fact that older homes with older electrical panels were not intended to handle the sheer use of our modern lifestyle with all of our smart gizmos, with all of our smart televisions, all of our smart devices, and the massive strain that we put onto the electrical grid to enjoy our modern lifestyle. So is true of the plumbing. We change out the plumbing fixtures that we use and we expect more pressure coming out of those pipes than probably was previously available. We also upgrade our bathrooms so that we have those nice rain tree and we can clean ourselves and it could be singing to us at the same time. We do these things to homes because that's what we enjoy. Doing so can cause problems with electrical and plumbing. If your electrical panel needs to be upgraded, please have an electrician go out, a licensed certified electrician go out and reinstall or update the electrical panel as needed. If you suspect you might have plumbing issues, please contact a plumber to make sure that they're taking a closer look at that and make the repairs needed so you won't have a problem in the closing process when that home inspection comes back. Number 4 is a tsunami of water-related issues. Now, when we're talking about water-related issues, it could be the groundwater is tainted. It could have lead in it. It could have sediment in it. It could have toxins in it. And it could deter a buyer if there's not a fresh, clean drinking source of water available for that property. Now, we have all heard across the country different areas where they got tainted water and it made people sick. And in the worst of cases, in the most extreme cases, it caused death of young people, old people, or people of any age. We don't want your home or the water supply to be a problem. If you suspect you might have a problem, have a water specialist perform a test on your water quality and make sure that everything is on the up and up. The next thing that comes into is, does the home have appropriate drainage? When we re-landscape homes, especially if we're doing it again as like a DIY enthusiast, we're not always thinking about the appropriate slope away from the foundation of the house to ensure that the water goes away from the foundation and doesn't collect on the foundation. This is problematic because enough water on the foundation will actually degrade the foundation and it will send a buyer running the opposite direction. Another consideration here is, are you in a floodplain? If so, obviously you need to make appropriate disclosure. And yes, buyers will sometimes reconsider. All the same, that's why I've made videos that help educate buyers if they are planning on buying in an area that is disaster prone, to make sure they're making the appropriate provisions and have open eyes throughout the process of what they're doing. It would be a shame if people stopped living in areas of Mother Nature's natural beauty. Reason number 3 is the dirty M word known as mold. Now, mold is the fastest and quickest way to make anyone else turn tail, and sometimes this one is difficult to find. It can be malignant, it can be awful, and it can be one of the most difficult things to find or see within a property. Depending on the type of home inspections a buyer may perform, they may uncover it. If you yourself know that there's mold issues with that property, it needs to not only be disclosed, but ideally remediated. If you don't have the funds on hand to remediate it, then make sure that you're making the appropriate disclosure and be real with yourself that you're about to take less than fair market value for your property, because the incoming buyer is going to have to go through the mold remediation process. The fastest way to scare a buyer is mold. It's simple, it's clear, it's the last thing anybody wants to deal with. So if you know it's a problem, please address it. Reason number 2 is the dreaded low appraisal. Now, these do happen sometime, and what exactly is a low appraisal? This is something that I always find interesting in practice. What is a low appraisal? Is it just because the seller got less than the list price of the home? Because if so, and that's the definition of a low appraisal, I say bogus. And the reason I say bogus is because, was that property listed at fair market value to begin with? If the answer was no, then what did you expect was going to happen if you overlist your property? It's not a low appraisal, it's a fair market valuation. Now, there are times that properties are listed at the right price, and yes, at times they can get a low appraisal based upon a wide variety of impacts that real estate appraisers take into account, including the most recent market trends, indicators, and conditions. It's important to be very realistic that a home buyer cannot get more home loan than the appraised value. So please make sure that you're working with your trusted real estate advisor about the realistic fair market value of your home and what your home should be selling for, because that price that it should be selling for ideally is your list price. Here's a gut check for you as well. If you list at fair market value or slightly thereunder, what do you think the market's going to do? It's more than likely going to cause you to get an offer at your list price or above very, very quickly, if not sending you into a multiple bid situation. Pricing right out of the gate is always the best practice anywhere in the United States when it comes to real estate. Adopt that practice today and you'll see yourself getting the most money out of your property possible. If you overprice and then you're bickering about the appraisal, be realistic and ask yourself this question. It's the same question I ask home buyers to consider all the time when they're getting ready to make an offer on the house. If they want to lowball the seller's price, then I always ask them, would you accept that offer if you were the home seller? If the answer to that question is no, then that means you're not on the right track to a good negotiation moving forward. The same is true as a seller. Would you buy your home at the price that you listed for? If the answer to that question is no, then you are not appropriately listed for the market. Make sure that you're being honest with yourself and make sure that you're keeping it real with yourself and the trusted real estate advisors that you choose to work with. As a last point on the appraised value of a property, please consider the very real reality again. A buyer cannot get more home loan than the appraised value. Very few buyers across the United States have the money on hand to come up above and beyond the appraised value. Time to be real and list accordingly. And reason number one is the difficult and unreasonable seller. What does this mean? That means that seller that just wants to say, I'm a strong negotiator and I'm going to screw over the home buyer. I'm going to leech out as much money as possible and I'm just going to take. Now I'm sure that you can think of a giver, a taker, and a negotiator in your life. The takers in your life, how often do you want to work with them? I bet you never want to work with them, right? You absolutely hate when they come around because you know it's going to be negative, you know it's going to be pessimistic, you know they're going to be looking to get something out of you as opposed to having a fair and reasonable negotiation. Signs of an unreasonable seller can be things when the home inspection comes back and the buyer simply makes a repair request that is reasonable. Maybe the HVAC system needs to be serviced and they say, hey, would you be so kind to please service the HVAC? And you're like, no, I'm not going to do it. I don't care if you burn up in the summer and I don't care if you're freezing cold in the winter. Unreasonable, difficult, unwarranted in the closing process. We're all people, and by approaching people with common decency and common respect, we can have a good and robust negotiation that will see you through the closing process and helping you sell your home while helping the buyer to feel good about everything moving forward. Now, on the flip side of this, there are unreasonable and difficult sellers, and in practice, I have actually seen this here in Las Vegas, Nevada, where even I was like, whew, hashtag JDEB, just take a breath, because it was gonna drive me bonkers too. Such a thing as like a buyer complaining about the knob on a dryer when we all know that any time an appliance conveys with a sell, it conveys in as-is condition. An appliance doesn't even have a material value to the property. It's simply a nice to have whenever a buyer purchases a property and it has all the appliances. It makes it more turnkey, thus making your house more appealing on the marketing strategy, making it known that you're leaving all the appliances behind, gives you the opportunity to update your appliances as well. When a buyer complains about something that nitpicky, Ron really has to start wondering what the heck is going on here and why are they going on about that knob. If that knob comes off the dryer, high chances that it was meant to come off to be cleaned, right? So I have seen these things in real estate practice and they do happen on both the selling side and the buying side. It's very important to manage expectations and to set a clear path forward of going through the closing process and how this goes down. Now, this is about as honest and as realistic as the overall real estate process can realistically be, short of you and I working together and having this conversation one-on-one. What I'm going to ask you to do is go back and watch this video again if you need to take more notes or if you need to get prepared to go on the market. Please just know that giving appropriate and adequate disclosure up front to the best of your knowledge is one of the winning things. Being open-minded to negotiations and also being easy to work with are going to bode in your success. So please, take it for action. It's something to think about. It's something to consider. Okay, now that we know the top 11 reasons why home buyers walk away from a sale, let's talk about 8 steps to sell your house and the 6 steps to take after accepting an offer on your house. Looking forward to our next conversation. We'll see you in a few.